Hi everyone, thank you for joining me today to talk about branding. So I love talking about branding, and right now a lot of the conversation has really leaned more towards tech and um, what tech means for your business. And I think we have lost a little bit of who we are and what our message should be and how we communicate that message. So today I want to talk about 5 steps to build your branding. And it doesn't mean that tech is not important. It just means that you have to have the right message and have the ability to connect with people before you can necessarily really utilize tech in the way that is going to be most beneficial for your organization. So the first thing is self-reflection. So I tend to think of branding and your brand almost like your character. It involves a look inside of, just who you are and what your character is and what you stand for. So I believe that people have their own brand as well as companies. So it applies to you as a person, and it also applies to your organization. And knowing the character of the organization you represent as well as your own character is really important. So taking that self-reflective approach and just saying, who are we? Who are we today? And, really not just looking at the good, but also looking at areas for improvement and a true self-reflection and analysis. So that's step 1. Step 2 would be self-aspiration. So you've looked at where you are and who you are right now today, and the next step is, who do you want to be? So what are those opportunities and aspirations? And this again is for an individual or a person, but it's also for a company. So do you want to be more philanthropic? Do you want to be growing into new markets? Whatever it is, just identifying it and really using that to better yourself and better your organization. So self-reflection, self-aspiration. So who am I and who would I like to be? And then number 3 is consumer competitive analysis. So we do a ton of research in our industry about the market and what is going on in the market and numbers and data. But sometimes it's really good to just look from a buyer's viewpoint. And what that can look like is just going on and doing Google searches and seeing what comes up and seeing what messages come up. I do have an example of a template that is really useful for this. What ends up being really beneficial is sometimes when you just start searching online, you discover things that are out there that you don't necessarily know are out there. It also makes it really much easier to compare apples to apples with other new construction or resale, and really help identify where what you do and who you are really different from all other options out there. So this is a really important part of the process of building your brand. And then number 4 is your brand voice. Your brand voice is, so you're talking about who you are, who you want to be, who your competitors are. So all of those influence your voice. You want to make sure that your voice represents your character or your brand. So making sure that you have your voice on paper. We are this, we are not this. What that does is it gives you something to reference. Anytime you do marketing, anytime you do sales, you have a document to reference. Am I reflecting the brand voice of who I am or who my company is? I find that putting things down on paper really help. Just because it helps keep you on track. Anytime you're not sure, does this sound right? You have something to go back to and look at and say, yes, this does represent who we are and what we stand for. And then the last item is number 5 is the visuals. So people are way more visual than anything else. So it's important that once you have the words that represent who you are and who you're not, that you also put on paper visuals that represent and evoke the emotions that represent your organization. One exercise to do is to think of if there was one image to represent your product or your homes without showing the product itself, what would that image be? And we've gotten some really great answers to this, like a dog running on the beach for potentially an oceanfront community, or a family making s'mores outside, or two kids walking on a sidewalk holding hands. So just doing this creative exercise helps you think about who you are beyond your product and really what emotion you want to evoke when you are communicating with potential buyers. So those are really the 5 steps of building your branding. Obviously, the exercise can go really specific into each of the steps, but remember that your branding is who you are and who you want to be, and then look at what is out there, what messaging is already out there with other people in the market, and do that consumer analysis, and then put on paper your voice and the words that represent you, as well as visuals that evoke the emotions that you want to evoke. So I hope that you enjoyed learning a little bit about branding, and I would love to chat with anyone who wants to discuss how to apply this to you or your organization. Take care.